Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on Ringside Reports YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, who moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma from the East Coast, Bad Brad Berkwitt.
Telemarketers. Do you get calls from telemarketers? I moved from the East Coast, as we say in the opening of the show, all the way to Oklahoma, and I thought the last thing I would get was calls from telemarketers. 918 area code. They call you about everything here from grass service to maid service, all over. So I do that do not disturb thing. Doesn't work. Forget about it. So it's an East Coast thing. It's a Midwest thing. Telemarketers, one of my biggest pet peeves. But on that note, hey, we're not here to talk about telemarketers, even though they are a royal pain in the bleep. Hey, we can't cut that. So, as we always do, come fly with me. My guest today is a boxing trainer and the owner of, and I can't even see my card, Team Rouse Kickboxing. See, that's what's so great about reality TV. I got a cue card and the light's hitting the cue card. I can't read my own cue card. So feel free to leave me comments on my YouTube channel. I appreciate all of those. From Team Rouse Kickboxing, located in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, where he also resides. Please welcome to the show, Randy Rouse.
Good to see you.
Good to be. Good to be. Look at that. We'll get through this show. I love it. Reality TV is the best. Let's start out. Big news is you have Jarrett, you have Trey Lippy Morrison, and Kinsey Witt. They're all fighting this Saturday, Buffalo Run Casino.
That's correct. Got all three fighters on.
Okay, got all three fighters on. How does training went?
Training's been really good. Trey had the thumb problem, had broken thumb. He's past that.
Okay.
Seems to be recovered all right. And today, Kinsey's at a dentist doing some final work on a root canal or something. Okay. And Jarrett, he's ready. He's pretty hardcore training the last month and a half. Okay. And he's ready. I expect Jarrett and Trey, I know, are going to have good competitive fights. Okay. We expect, in fact, I expect a test for both of them on the show, but I also expect both of them to win. Okay. How did you first get into boxing, man? Yeah, it started at a very young age for me. Even before I was in first grade, my dad had been a boxer, and there were four of us boys. They always wanted us to be able to handle ourselves. So when we got into the boxing, I was the only one of the boys that actually wanted to take it on past that. And so I stayed in boxing quite a bit when I was little, and then I switched over. The martial arts really grabbed me. I guess back in the late 60s, early 70s, you had the Bruce Lee things coming out, stuff like that. So the karate kind of interested me, and I dabbled in that in Missouri, and then I moved to Oklahoma in 1982. Okay. And that's when I really took it serious, because when I came here, it was very competitive. There were a lot of martial arts gyms, and I brought some things that they hadn't been doing yet, and worked out great. So I started in the gym, was there about a year and a half, and then the original owner of the gym gave me the gym. Okay, wow. He thought I would be able to take it on up the ladder further. Gotcha. I had to drive, and I had my connections from the boxing scene. Gotcha. So I was able to take the guys to shows that they normally wouldn't be on. That's cool. Now, you're a modest guy, but I'm going to make you brag on yourself because you need to, because you got some accomplishments that I want to talk about. Who's some of the bigger names that the audience would know that you've trained? Oh, Cody Lemons. He was two-time world kickboxing champion. Fought Vegas, Japan, Tokyo. I mean, Cody was one of my favorite hard punching guys. Bud Smith, he got second place out of 8 countries at Valley Tudo in Tokyo in '94. Okay. Bud was a good guy. And then my wife, Brenda Rouse, my favorite fighter. But Brenda was, she was a 4-time world kickboxing champion. She was undefeated in kickboxing, very wonderful career. She beat Thailand, Japan, Mexico, South Korea. Okay. Has a lot of international quality bouts, and then she went into women's boxing and actually became, I think, the 3rd world champion in Oklahoma history to have a professional world boxing title. So I'm very proud of Brenda. And anybody that watched TV in Oklahoma, of course, the last 10 years of pay-per-views, several pay-per-views, HBO, so she was up the ladder. Okay. Now, I know that
Trey and Jared, all those guys obviously train out of your gym. But do you also open your gym up to non-boxers?
Yes, and in fact, here are the last couple of months. You cannot box at the level that we're doing with Trey and Jarrett and Kinsey and still maintain your kickboxing background. So right now I have a kickboxing instructor that works for me at the gym that handles the karate kids and the self-defense classes and whatnot. And I've incorporated myself in two of my most trusted boxing coaches, Verdell Smith and Kelly Coble, both with extensions. Well, Verdell Smith, he fought Chavez.
Yeah, I know that name.
He fought Camacho Sr.
Yep.
You know, Verdell, I've been all over the world with Verdell, and then Kelly Coble, he fought Buddy McGirt, was his last fight, and he fought the little Irishman. Mickey Ward.
Oh, yeah.
He fought Mickey Ward. In fact, if you watch the video, Kelly was winning the fight. Mickey cut him in, I think, the 5th or 6th round. They stopped the fight.
Okay.
So Kelly's he's good, and so that's the trio that we're working with. And I have a cut man here in Tulsa named Craig Blacklock.
Oh, I know Craig well.
I use Craig for strength training with Trey. Yep. And he also.
Well, that's where we met. We met at Craig's
exactly.
gym.
That's
which Craig always says, "Thanks for the plug, but you never say my gym name." So do me a favor. I know that's a different show, but what is the exact name of his gym? Because everybody calls it the Craig Blacklock Gym.
I don't
but
know.
It's fitness. See,
I don't know.
See, buddy, we're gonna get you on the show. I promise you, because you're gonna email me and call me and say you didn't say the name of my gym. Because everybody knows it by your name. You're world famous, buddy. But we'll get you on to talk about
Craig, I mentioned your brother.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Now, father, you've been around the game a long time.
Yes.
Father-son relationships, historically, don't always work out, training relationships.
That's true.
But it seems, and I've seen you in the gym with Jarrett. I've seen you pull no punches with Jarrett. Even though you're his dad, you're also his trainer. And I had Dallas Cook recently on, and I asked him the same question. I saw it with his boys as well. Where, like with the Jack Mosleys and Shane, they kind of fell out. Roy Jones, I was around him for a while. Roy Sr. and him fell out. Your relationship with Jarrett seems to be working. Why does yours work when other father and son training relationships don't?
You know, I'm not sure why others don't work out. I know I love my children and my wife more than anything on the planet. But when I walk into the ring, the only person that exists is that fighter.
Okay.
I don't have a family. I don't have friends. I don't have anything. Everything every molecule in my body is there for that fighter. And Jarrett has understood that through the years. He grew up watching me, train fighters and win a lot of fights. And when Jarrett decided to really get into it full time, he knows. He just knows I was not going to treat him less. If anything, I would be harder on him. Because I want him to be as safe as he can and to do as good as he can. Right. When your namesake's on anyone, and I told Brenda in the early days, Brenda thought I was harder on her. And I wasn't really harder on her. I just knew that she was fighting in a division. Women's boxing wasn't really big at the time. And I knew she was going to be facing a lot of things that would be a target on her. And, so I made her stronger. And the same thing with Jarrett. I let him know. I love you to death. I'll go buy you a pizza when we leave. But for right now, you're no better than the Billy in the corner. Right. You're a student and I'm a coach.
Right. Okay. There's a real answer, folks. I saw that, as everybody knows, Jimmy Lang works for Ringside Report. He does a show out of Virginia for me, and I've watched Johnny Lang, who's my main man, Jimmy, back on the East Coast, and same thing. Their father-son, they love each other. They go to war for each other.
Of course.
But when they work in the corner, it's not father-son no more. He's a fighter and he's a trainer, and I admire you for that. And on that note, folks, we're going to take a short commercial break. Health and fitness is everything in life. To achieve both, there is nothing better than a boxing regimen to get you in shape at that special boxing gym. Grimm's Gym is that special place, located at 8010 Clifton Road in Sacramento, California. Grimm's Gym is owned and operated by Mel Walker, a trainer like no other, who will take you on a fitness journey through unconventional training methods that have yielded results for his students time and time again. So call Grimm's Gym, where there are no contracts, at 346-4161. Boxing fans, are you searching for a book that is timeless? A book that not only gives a fighter's perspective, but people involved in the sport and Hollywood celebrities who share their love of boxing? Then the book for you is Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime by Bad Brad Berkwitt. To order your copy in hardcover with dust jacket or paperback, go online to authorhouse.com or call 1-888-519-5121. Is your company looking to achieve more of a market share in its respective area, turning exposure into additional revenue? Well then, the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show is the place you want to spend some of your allotted advertising budget. To find out about purchasing your commercial spot on the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show, call the RSR office at 918-893-7997. And we're now back with boxing trainer, and I'm doing this without a cue card this time. Boxing trainer from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, Randy Rouse. Now, besides for your son and the fighters you train, who's your favorite fighter of all time?
Marvin Hagler.
Interesting. You know who said the same thing?
No.
Dallas Cook.
Really?
He picked Marvin Hagler.
No.
He picked Marvin Hagler. You guys in cahoots?
You know, I don't know. In all honesty, I've only spoken to Dallas a handful of times.
Okay.
He seems like a great guy.
Right.
And I'm anxious to work with him. We both have fighters on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't been able to work together much other than the sparring session we had a week ago.
Okay.
So I haven't spent a lot of time with Dallas, so I don't know his boxing background.
Yep. You picked Marvin Hagler. Now, what's your reason for? I know, obviously, but what's your reason?
The thing I liked about Hagler was he was versatile. He had power, he had speed, he had skills, but I loved his work. If he said this is it, then this is it, and you don't find that a lot of guys anymore. They flip flop. And when Hagler fought Leonard, he said if they throw the decision Leonard's way, I'm done. I'll never fight again.
Right.
And Hagler was at his prime. I mean, that's like a great football player or quarterback just walking away, saying I'm done because I didn't like this. I'm done.
What's your opinion on the Hagler Leonard? And before I ask you, I have it on VHS. I'm dating myself, but I have it in the closet on VHS. And I've watched it time and time again. I was in the Navy. I was a young E2. And I bet my whole paycheck. And I bet on Hagler because I was so sure Hagler was going to win. And obviously the decision goes away. But I got to be honest. I've scored that fight without sound, with sound. And every single time I come up 7 now. I don't know where you're going to go with it. But I come up 7-5 for Leonard.
Yeah.
What was your pick?
Leonard won that fight. I had no problem with the decision on that fight.
Okay.
And in fact, what hurt more than Hagler losing that fight was knowing from his background that he was gone.
Yeah.
He wasn't coming back.
Moved Italy.
Yeah. And when that happened, I thought, man, I just lost my guy. I've got to switch to another guy. Because growing up, I liked Ali. My dad hated Ali, of course. So there was always that in the house. And He was a Marciano guy. And he never lived things down. And I liked Holmes. When nobody else liked Holmes, I liked Holmes.
Great fighter.
He was a very good jab. And Foreman, I was never a big Foreman fan. Just wasn't.
Right.
And in all honesty, I love Tommy Morrison to this day. I still love Tommy. I love him till my last breath. But I wasn't a Tommy Morrison fan.
Right.
It took it took a long time for me to even watch one of his fights and be objective about it.
Right.
We were friends for a long time before I actually watched one of his fights, and it just didn't see him as the guy that was, the Foreman and
when he fought Foreman, WBO title.
If you wasn't a Tommy fan, you would have sat back and you would have been throwing things into the TV. Right. Because Tommy was, he was running and moving and walking things he'd never done. It was the smartest fight he'd ever done in his life. Yep. And I commend him for it. But at the time, I wasn't a Tommy fan, so I wasn't rooting, for that style of fight. But after I got to know Tom in the way that we knew Tom, I loved everything he did after that.
Okay.
Big fan.
Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, as we know, they finally made it. I think it's, I'm tired of hearing about it.
Me too.
It's ridiculous the price that, obviously, they make $200 million. I think the pay-per-view is going to cost about $100. They're saying at least, which is ridiculous, but okay. I will probably have a fight party and get it, but who are you going with in that fight?
I'm going to go with Mayweather if it goes to decision. But I'm thinking Pacquiao does have a chance of taking him out.
Okay.
I would think 6th, 7th round maybe. I'm never correct whenever I pick a guy.
I'm not either. So whoever I pick go against me.
Yeah. So but Mayweather's slick. He's very fast. He's a good fighter. I mean, he's a great fighter. But Pacquiao, I don't know how hungry Pacquiao is right now. I've seen some of the footage, and he's into the politics and things like that. So Mayweather may school him.
I think he is.
Yeah, if Pacquiao doesn't.
I'm actually, if I would tell you I wasn't rooting for Manny, I would be lying. But I just think that Floyd's not going to stay in the pocket with him. I think it's going to be a boring fight. I think people are going to be disgusted that they paid all this money to see no action.
Yeah. Well, we
may be shocked. We may be surprised.
We had a big connection with Top Rank in Vegas. I've seen Junior in the gym.
Right.
Nobody works any harder than he does.
Right.
Nobody is as slick as he is. And Mayweather is the real deal, whether people like it or not. He is. He can fight. But Pacquiao's that. He's kind of like that people's champion. People really want to see him. And Pacquiao's no
tough guy.
No joke. That's for sure.
What is one thing you can share with the viewers that really isn't known about you?
I can actually share. Not get arrested.
Yeah, not get arrested.
I think the number one thing in my life is I've always been open. Most coaches have a tendency to believe they know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing. I learn every day. And the day that I stop learning is the day I walk away from the business.
You see that, folks? There's another one of those answers. Love it. How you can't get more honest than that. Those are the type of things, as an interviewer all these years that I've been doing, is that this is why I do these things. I love honest answers. Favorite actor?
John Wayne.
Love him. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I just about have to say, we're out there, brother. I laughed till I died.
Which one?
And Life. I like Life too.
Okay.
Life. In fact, Life was my favorite movie.
What was?
Life.
You talking Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? But I didn't hear you before. What was the first one you said?
We're Out There, Brother.
With George Clooney. Yeah, I didn't catch it. You said
Hillbilly Show with Clooney. I love that show.
Look at that, folks. I didn't understand Randy, and he probably doesn't understand half of what I said, but I didn't even catch it. And I'm the one that talks fast. I had to ask him to repeat it. Yeah, great movie with John Turturro and George Clooney when I think they were prisoners or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, always right.
Favorite singer?
Favorite singer? Ooh. Right now, if it was country, it'd have to be the girl from Oklahoma.
Garth's wife?
No. Little blonde girl. I can't.
You got me on that. I like country music, but you got me.
Yeah,
Debbie, you can talk. Go ahead, Debbie. Say it.
Are you talking about Carrie Underwood?
Carrie Underwood.
Okay,
yeah, it's great.
From American Idol.
Great vocalist.
Yeah, she's come a long way. Favorite food?
Pot roast.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Favorite dessert?
Probably apple cobbler.
Okay. If you could meet one person from any time in history, who would you like to meet, and what would your first question be for them?
Wow. I would love to have. I would love to have been able to speak to, some of the old school guys that were before my time.
Okay.
So I'd have to be thinking way back, like either Lincoln. Probably biggest question I would have to ask is, how hard of a struggle was it to come from being a farm kid or a little bitty guy and make it up to be the strongest man in the world. Things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And look at that, Ed Klein. I know you're a fan of the show because you recently were on the show. And who did you pick? Abraham Lincoln. Now look at that. You have Randy. You have Ed, who's a lot younger than Randy. Abraham Lincoln. See, that's what I'm going to do, folks, on the East Coast. I'm going to interview interesting people. I always got to get that little jab in. And finally, what is the saying you live your life by, if you have one?
Go all the way. If you're going to make a mistake, do it big.
Okay.
It's we have a saying in the gym that I tell the guys every day. A lot of guys will flinch. Don't flinch. If you're throwing it, throw it all the way.
Okay.
If it's wrong, we'll bring it back, but don't try to stop it midstream.
Okay. And there you have it, folks. Another show in the can, as we say. As Frank Sinatra sang so eloquently so long ago, the best is yet to come.